Welcome to the Metal Verbalizers podcast, a podcast about promoting underground metal by talking about and sometimes with underground metal bands that we really like. We feel that underground metal generally seems very underrepresented in podcasting, and there are a lot of great bands out there, so underground metal is the focus of this podcast. In this type of episodes, we choose a band and talk about things such as influences, style, lyrics, future plans, etc. in order to give you an introduction and an idea of what the band is like, and of course encouraging you to listen to their music and look into them further. I'm Johan Verbalizer, and this episode will be dedicated to the band Campa. Campa is a thrash metal band from Germany and was started at the end of 2022 when the band started rehearsing together. I think that the sound of Campa is pretty cool. I would describe it as being kind of like some kind of a mix between thrash metal in the more classical sense and black thrash. I believe that it is mainly the vocals that makes me think of black thrash, while the rest sounds very classic thrash metal to me. I personally believe that this could be a very good thing, because I think that this could please thrash metal fans from different styles of thrash. Regardless if you prefer black thrash or the more classical thrash metal, I believe that you will really enjoy the music of Campa. The songs of Campa have a very, very varied length. The long song is almost 6 minutes, and the shortest song is almost 4 minutes. But regardless of the length, the songs tend to be pretty consistent in following a pretty high tempo. Not super fast, relatively speaking, but definitely a very high tempo and high intensity. The kind of the one that I'm personally a very big fan of as a big thrash metal fan. When it comes to the influences of Campa, as a band they're mainly influenced by thrash metal bands such as Exodus, Sodom, Sepultura, Suicidal Angels, Hell Ripper, Schizophrenia, Killing, and Havoc. All the members are of course big fans of thrash metal, but they also come from very different musical backgrounds, and as a result they are also bringing their individual influences from outside of thrash metal, including styles like death metal, progressive metal, psychedelic rock, groove, grind, and also even styles like funk. The band is also taking a lot of influence from other fellow musicians from the thrash metal scene in Berlin. The current scene in Berlin is definitely a very strong scene, but I'm going to come back to that a little bit later. In the artwork of the band's EP called To the Grave, you can see Death, the Grim Reaper, with red eyes, inviting you to enter the cemetery and inviting you to the grave, which I guess is what the title is referring to, of course. The idea behind the artwork is to portray the idea that death is kind of flirting with us all the time. Death is not pushing you in, but it's simply opening the door, so to speak. This artwork was created by the artist Alvar F. Kostache. I'm personally a big fan of this artwork. I really like it. I knew about Campa before they released this artwork, but when they first showed this artwork, I became very excited for the EP immediately. So definitely great artwork, and generally I think that it really fits the kind of like vibe I get from the music as well. So not only is it a great looking artwork, but personally I also feel that it fits really well with the music. When it comes to the lyrics of Campa, They deal with a few different themes from song to song, but the lyrics tend to deal with subjects such as depression, pain, oppression, etc. Very negative themes, but I think that Campa is dealing with them in a pretty positive way. I personally really enjoy the lyrics of Campa, and I would definitely encourage you to keep attention to the lyrics of these songs. To give you a few examples, the song Fill Me Up With Poison, for example, is basically about depression and addiction. How some people feel the need to poison their own bodies in order to keep going. The song God Against God is about how people are influenced by politics and religion, etc., and basically end up killing each other over it. The term God here is referring to kind of like dogmatic ideas. Another example could be like the song Kill the Imposter. Follows a similar theme with politics and religion, but this song is about how some people use politics and religion as a way to manipulate others into poverty, sadness and pain, etc. But only until the others decide they've had enough and demand justice, and want to, well, kill the imposter. The origin of the band's name is pretty nice. The original idea was that the band wanted a, quote, metal as fuck name, and something that is easy to pronounce, which makes me really hope that I haven't pronounced it wrong this whole time. That would be kind of embarrassing. But they wanted a name having something to do with themes such as death, the devil, hell, etc. Which makes sense that Campa wanted a dark name like that, considering the band's lyric themes. But as you can probably imagine, all the names they could come up with were already taken. However, since one of the members is Portuguese, they came up with the idea of having a name in Portuguese, and eventually they decided on Campa, which basically means grave. Like the band have said themselves, you could see this as kind of like a synonym to Sepultura. And since Sepultura is one of the band's main influences, like I mentioned earlier, I think a name like that makes a lot of sense. Also, considering the themes of Campa, of course. When it comes to the future of Campa, the band is focusing on playing live and keep releasing new music. The band is actually hard at work with an upcoming LP right now. There is not a confirmed release date yet, but Campa is planning to release it sometime next year in 2025. It depends on how fast the band will finish writing the songs and how fast they will be able to be completely done. So again, hopefully 2025, but it is not confirmed yet. One reason why this may take a while is because Campa feel that they really want to make sure that the upcoming music is better than, or at the very least, on par with the music on To the Grave. We are now getting close to the end of this episode, but before that, Campa wanted me to really mention the scene in Berlin. The community is something very important for Campa as a band, and they are very proud of the scene in Berlin that they are part of. And if you ask me personally, they have a lot of great reasons to be proud of it. It is a very, very great scene that you should definitely pay attention to. For example, the Campa EP To the Grave was actually recorded, mastered and produced by Tom from the band EXA in the LTMF studios in Berlin. And also some other bands that Campa wanted me to mention specifically are, for example, Asi Assassin, that I've actually featured previously on this podcast, as well as bands such as EXA, Space Parasites, Space Chaser, Reactory, Indian Nightmare, Annexation, and Faded. Again, you should definitely not miss out on this scene. We at Metal Verbalizers will keep featuring bands from this scene for sure. These are my thoughts and comments about the band, but now I would like to hear your thoughts. What do you think about Campa? Do you have a favorite song by them? If so, which one? I mentioned that I really like the lyrics. Do you have a favorite lyric by Campa? If so, which one? Let us know in the YouTube comments or on social media. We have now reached the end of this episode. If you enjoyed this podcast, we would really appreciate your support. Great ways to support this podcast is by liking, commenting, and sharing, as well as following us on Spotify, rating our Spotify page, and subscribing to our YouTube channel. All of this can be done very quickly, very easily, and completely free. But it would be a huge help. These things definitely encourage us a lot, and it will also help the podcast thanks to how the algorithms work, which will also help the bands that we feature. So we would be very thankful for your support. We will be back to verbalize again next week.